All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught us all this truth and who also rule and teach well. And Shalom to Allah Achim in his truth and sincerity, starting with the 144,000 and the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, which we are fighting to be a part of. This is your brother Khabar Yakal coming back, Lord willing, with another quick and edifying lesson. And this one really should be a short lesson. I forgot to bring this out on my last lesson. As you can see here, the topic was super speed, spiritual power. Because who the world ignorantly calls God in Jesus Christ, which their true names are Yahweh. That's the Most High God, which means He exists, or He to be. And His only begotten Son's name is Yahweh Shai, which means He saves or He delivers. Yahweh Bahasham, which means in the name Yahweh Shai, is gonna, bestow, or endow His elect with spiritual power, starting with the house of David. All right. And I was just going into one aspect of spiritual power. With spiritual power, you could basically do anything. All right. And since I said, He's gonna get the house of He's gonna bestow the house of David, with spiritual power. Let me get this real quick. Hold up, that's not it. Excuse me, Zechariah 12:8. I completely skipped it. Wait, oh no, I was in the wrong chapter, I think. This is Zechariah 12:8. It says, "In that day shall the Lord, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem." So He's going to defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, what is Jerusalem? All right, that's the elect, the hopeful elect. All right. Because the only people who truly, calling themselves the Israelites, and that's the spirit, that title, Esau, your time is up. Cause guess what? Edom, Idumea, which is the so-called white race, and also those 1948ers in the land of Israel right now, they're not the people. All right, the only true people on earth, calling themselves after the name of Israel, after Jacob, is us. Lord willing, we're the men, the true men of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. The Israelites are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and Israelite foreigners. That's Jerusalem. So He's going to defend us, the ones that are in the truth. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as the Most High, or as power. The word there for God is Allahim, which means power, like the angels. As the angel of the Lord before them. So the Lord is gonna, upgrade His men and give us power to defend ourselves. I'll get one more. I want to say it's 49. No, that's not it. It's Isaiah 40 and verse 29. It says, He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might He increaseth strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. All right. So the Lord is gonna, give us what we need to survive the coming calamity, because Esau, Edom, we already, we already, matter of fact, I don't even know if I could say that. I'm gonna just say E, Idumea, the elites, the wicked elites of this society, we already see that they're gonna come down with great wrath. All right, they're already, about to, demonize. They're already demonizing Jake, in the media, which Jake, short for, descendants of Jacob, which are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Israelites. We already see them demonizing, but guess what that's gonna turn into? It's gonna turn into, them turning against us. All right, on the media, they're gonna make us the face of error, So, and Esau, his blessing is the sword. I keep saying that. I don't know if I could say that or not. Salaki, I might not be able to say that. But I say it all the time, and I don't deal with any issues, but because we gotta watch what we say. But I forgot to bring this out on that lesson. All right, I looked this up yesterday. I said, is there an account in the Bible of Elijah outrunning a chariot? And I brought that clip out of Speed. I showed Speed. He raced that horse, which it was pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. As much as I don't like that that little YN, as long as I don't, which he's not really a YN like that, but you get what I'm trying to say. He's a 2/3. But I gotta give credit where credit is due. The guy is he's gifted, he's talented, he's athletic. But guess what? The power that the Lord's gonna give the prophets is gonna be beyond anything physical. All right, it's gonna be beyond no amount of training, no amount of lifting weights, no amount of doing resistance training, stamina, no amount of martial arts training can compete with the power that he's going to give us to defend ourselves. All right. It's going to be, it's like, and this is something that the elder from England, GMS UK, I forget his name, but he said this years ago. What is a gun to Superman? And he also said, and this stuck with me for years, man. He said, in the hood, you got, your kingpins, you got the guys, running, the top dog, so to speak. But where does their power lie in? Their guns. What is a gun to Superman? All right. What is a gun going to do to Superman? That's the power that the Lord's going to give us. All right. What is a gun? Like Magneto said, you homo sapiens and your guns. The Lord's going to give us power, man. Just like he gave Samson, just like he gave David. All right. He's going to give us power. But it says, yes, the Bible does record Elijah outrunning a chariot. In 1 Kings 18 and 45 through 46, after Elijah's confrontation with the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, King Ahab rode his chariot towards Jezreel. The text says, and the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. This means Elijah, empowered by God, ran ahead of Ahab's chariot all the way to Jezreel, a distance of roughly 15 to 20 miles, depending on the route. So Elijah literally outrun a chariot for 20 miles. He continuously just running, and he outran a chariot. That's something no amount of training, no amount of running marathons could let you do that. That's spiritual power, man. That's superhuman power. It highlights both Elijah's supernatural strength and the Lord's hand being upon him, And that's just something, I wanted to add to that lesson. I meant to bring it out, but, the Spirit had it to where it didn't come out. But super speed is coming, and that, that's spiritual power. Spiritual power is coming. to the ones that wait on the Lord. So Lord, the lesson was edifying and comforting. Once again, giving our praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahshai, Bashem